Have you ever walked into a group in which the tension was so thick that you felt like you could cut it with a knife? Maybe you didn't know the reason for it. Maybe you really didn't know the specific people who were involved, but it was obvious that there was tension, power plays and personal politics and one-upmanship, games and manipulation and selfishness, people walking on eggshells, afraid of getting the wrong person upset, because if you do, there's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem for everybody if you get the wrong person upset. And so the drama is constantly unfolding and developing. And it makes you not want to be there. Whether it's an office or a factory or a neighborhood or a group of friends, even a family. As we think about this sort of an environment, that atmosphere divides and separates people from one another, and it is a powerful tool of our enemy, the devil, and it has no place among people who belong to Jesus. Think with me about the words of John in the book of 1 John chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. 1 John chapter 4, beginning with verse 7, we read, "Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God, and everyone who loves is born of God and knows God. He who does not love does not know God, for God is love. In this, the love of God was manifested toward us, that God has sent his only begotten Son into the world, that we might live through him. In this is love, not that we loved God, but that he loved us, and sent his Son to be the propitiation for our sins. Beloved, if God so loved us, we also ought to love one another." Think about that message. Love one another. God is love. He gave his Son for us. So love one another. He comes right back to the place where he started. Brother Bill Gibson was the preacher at the Veneta Church of Christ before I moved to Veneta. He was a member there while I was the preacher there. He and I would visit together, and sometimes we would go out and do things together. And Bill, almost every time, if not every time, that he taught a class or preached a sermon or even got up to lead a prayer in front of the congregation, he would always say, "I love you with the love of the Lord." He meant it. And that's what we all need. It's love that reaches out to help when someone is hurting or they are in need. It is love that ignores a comment or an action that could be taken in a bad way, but love instead interprets it in the best possible way. It is love that holds our hearts together, that brings us closer and reminds us that we are not just a collection of people, but we are the family of God. It is love that fills our hearts with joy and excitement for one another, whether we're in the same room together or across the country from one another. Beloved, if God so loved us, we also ought to love one another. Thank you for watching this devotional. We invite you to come and worship with us anytime that you are in Albuquerque. You will find a group of people who love Jesus, who are trying to live for him, and who are glad that you stopped in to worship with us.